Mufflers. They make your car quiet. Unless they're on my car, in which case they fail in ways that make your car much, much louder. All this started with a flange on the passenger side headers. I fixed that and then found a leak on the flange on the catalytic converter. I fixed that too. I made a video about it. Now there's a rattle in the exhaust somewhere. It sounded a lot like one of the car chemistry silencers in the tailpipes had come loose, so let's start there. The pipes are clamped on. In theory, I should just be able to loosen the clamp and pull the pipe off. In practice, the clamp has long since crushed the pipes together. I used a rubber mallet to gently separate the pipe from the muffler. All right. This one's fine. The rattle must be on the driver's side. This pipe has some extra braces welded on to try to fix some other problem, so I have to cut those out first. This one was a lot tougher to get out. I had to give up on the rubber mallet almost immediately. I don't think I'm going to be able to reuse this one, which is fine. I wanted to upgrade the silencers anyway, but I couldn't get them out of the pipes. All I did was mangle them. I'll just make new pipes. Back to the subject at hand. This silencer wasn't the cause of the rattle either. So now I have to drop the entire exhaust to track it down. This appears to be what's left of the catalytic converter. I'm not quite sure what happened here, but I don't think it's converting anything anymore. That doesn't sound right. It looks like what I thought was going to be a quick tack weld on a silencer has turned into cutting off the cat and welding on a new one. Apparently the honeycomb broke apart somehow, and that was the rattling sound I was hearing. I had to do a little prep before I could weld on the new cat. The chop saw leaves burrs that I took off with an angle grinder and a Dremel. I feel like there's probably a better way to remove the inner burrs, but this works. I also had to cut down the new cat a little bit. There just isn't a lot of room to fit an exhaust in these cars, and every little bit helps. Annoyingly, the cat and the pipe are the same diameter. I was hoping to find a cat with a 2.5-inch outer diameter so it'd slide over the existing pipe, but that didn't work out. This meant that I'd have to do a more difficult butt weld to join them together. Did I mention I'm not very good at welding? Bonus internet points for whoever mentions the most welding mistakes in the comments. A better welder wouldn't need to spend the next 10 minutes grinding down their welds either. I burned through the pipe a couple of times and had to fill the holes, then grind that down from the massive blob of metal I crudely threw at it to make something resembling a competent weld. Pretty sure it's solid though. I had to mount the muffler so I could plan how to cut the 90-degree bend to the flange. It seems I didn't quite mount the cat as straight as I thought. I should have done some tack welds and tested the alignment before going all the way around, so that's on me. This meant that I had to cut through my new weld so I could bend the cat down and make everything line up properly. I know people like sawzalls for this kind of thing, but an angle grinder just seems to work better for me. Maybe I just have to find the right kind of blade. That lines up a lot better. This time I'm tacking it before I bring it to the bench. Painter's tape works quite well for holding the pipes together just long enough to tack them. I'd use magnets, but this is stainless steel. I didn't cut the elbow at quite the right angle either, so I tried to make this wedge to fill the gap to the flange. It's not great. I'll worry about it later. While I had the muffler up, I cut the new tailpipes. I used the old ones for reference so I got the lengths right. I had to use a pipe expander to return the muffler's outlets to their original 2.5-inch inner diameter so that I could even fit the new pipe in. This looks pretty good. I got new tips too. The old tailpipes had 3-ring car chemistry silencers installed. This time I'm using their newer 4-ring silencers. The old ones had to be slightly ground down to fit, but these new ones slide right in. But first I tacked on these caps. These add even more noise reduction. I marked the location for the set screw and used a stepped bit to make the hole. The last step was adding stainless steel wool between the discs. To keep the wool from being pushed through the holes by the exhaust, I used stiff stainless steel mesh. It turns out the front wheel bearing from the DeLorean is the perfect template for cutting this mesh into circles. I notched the circle and placed it on top of the disc, then stuffed the space between the discs with stainless steel wool. 1 down, 2 to go, for this side. There was a lot of trimming and tweaking to get the mesh and the wool to fit, but it went pretty quick. I used blue Loctite on the set screw. I'm not sure that it won't just burn away in the heat of the exhaust, but it's worth a try. Just in case, I made sure the screw is installed from above so that it will be less likely to vibrate loose. The other side was pretty much the same. It was looking great until I realized I put the set screw on the wrong side. I drilled another hole in the top and welded up the one on the bottom. With the tailpipes done, it's time to go back to the cat. I decided that the short elbow that I tacked on sucked, and I cut a new one. This time I used an oversized pipe segment to create a sleeve that would fit between the cat and the elbow. This gave me a bit of play to tilt the elbow without having to fill large gaps between it and the flange or to try to cut a precise angle on the chop saw. I tacked up the cat to the muffler inlet pipe first, then to the elbow. The downside to the sleeve is that it doubles the amount of welding I need to do, but it seemed like this was the best solution for me, and I can use the welding practice. This is probably my best welding to date. It's a low bar. I was just about to bring the muffler back to the car when I noticed this huge gash in the side of the muffler body. I really wish I'd seen this before I'd done all that work. This explains what looked like animal fur on the engine. It was fiberglass from the muffler. I forgot to record anything for the next part, so here's an old movie of my dog barking at a Roomba. I ordered a new Boiler Pro XS to replace the ruined one. The old pipes into the muffler were welded in place, so I couldn't just transfer them to the new muffler. But I did have 2 extra pipes with 90-degree bends that I previously installed 3-disc silencers in that I never used. So once again, I had to cut off my newly welded cat, and now the cat from the other side too. To get everything back together, I need to figure out where the muffler was going to sit. I used the tailpipes as a guide. I got new exhaust hangers, so once I had the muffler height correct, I got those mounted and roughly lined up. Since I didn't want the muffler leaning against the main pulley, I used a precision engine-to-muffler alignment device to get the spacing right, along with a separate bumper-to-muffler alignment device to keep the exhaust from touching the rear fascia. Then I tack welded the hangers to the muffler. Once I removed the alignment devices, the muffler would pivot on the hangers. I put the rear alignment device back in to make sure the muffler wouldn't tilt back too far while I worked. The next step is to weld the cat to the muffler inlet pipe. With the inlet pipe installed, I could line up the cat pipe, bolt it to the flange, remove it again to cut it down a little bit more, reinstall it, and tack weld it into place before I did the final welds on the bench. As always seems to be the case, the driver's side was more challenging. I again didn't cut the cat off straight, which left a large gap between the cat and the pipe. And the muffler was somehow at a slightly different height than the old one, even though it looks level from behind the car. My solution was to use that wedge that I was going to use on the elbow. It fit perfectly. That said, this side is a bit of a mess. The wedge introduces a kind of a kink to get everything to line up, but it works. Good thing no one's going to see any of this once it's on the car. Except you guys. But you're cool. That left the final welding for the hangers and cutting off the excess. After that, it's just clamp down the inlet, reinstall the tailpipes, mount the tips, and we're good to go. Okay, one more thing. I still need a heat shield. The original one wouldn't work here, so I reused the Heat Shield Products Muffler Wrap that I'd had on my old muffler. This just wraps around the muffler with stainless steel zip ties and reflects some of the heat back towards the muffler and away from the engine. The only part I didn't replace on this entire exhaust was the cat on the passenger side. I'd replaced that flange fairly recently, and I didn't really feel like going back and doing all that extra welding. I'll worry about that once that cat disintegrates too. This is definitely not the highest quality work you'll see in a muffler build, but I did get a lot of TIG welding practice. With 4 silencers, 2 of them stuffed with stainless steel wool, it should finally be the quiet exhaust system I've been trying to make. For aftermarket short-run sports car exhaust definitions of quiet, anyway. I'm finally going to do a test drive of the new suspension and this new muffler next time. So be sure to tell the algorithm that you want to be notified when all that's up, and thanks for watching.